Good morning, good morning. Is that a beautiful scene right behind me? The sun is just coming up, the no clouds in the sky, the trees are green behind me as we miss this hurricane that's out in the Atlantic is certainly apparently going to go up and hit New England this weekend. So I skirted that issue. Now listen, it is Thursday, August 19th. I'm Kenny Polcaro, your host of the party, and this is the morning market commentary. And excuse me because I got a little bit of a scratchy throat, so I'm losing my voice. But one way or the other, I'm all good. No reason to worry. So what is going on? What happened yesterday? Stock sold off again. 2 days in a row. I can't even believe that. How could that possibly be? I mean, we tried to call the police. Maybe we need to call the state police and figure out what's going on. And guess what? Futures are lower again this morning in what is surely going to be just another kind of pressure, volatile day as investors take it all in. So let's talk about what happened. Yesterday, the Fed minutes suggested a bit more of a fracture amongst the paparazzi, right? And that's what the minutes exposed. Sellers now having a second thought on current valuations while the buyers are undeterred, right? They're just choosing to bid lower. The buyers are still there. They're just lower. The VIX soars and is up 40% as of last night. It's up another 20% this morning. Oil taking it on the chin, breaking $63 before rebounding. But I told you that yesterday, so pay attention. And now the tally going to sue Facebook over free speech? And Twitter is still not sure why the tally tweets need to be deleted. So that's a whole nother conversation. And so what's for dinner tonight? It's unsettling, so we're going to have chicken soup. Because like your grandmother always said, have some chicken soup. It's good for you. So look, what does the headline suggest? Fed signals asset purchases likely to start this year. Stock futures sharply lower after a market sell-off amid the Fed's taper discussion. Stocks, commodities sink on Fed taper worries. Those are all the headlines that you see this morning. So what exactly was the surprise? Did we learn something that we didn't already know? Isn't that exactly why the Fed made the surprise announcement on Monday morning at 6 a.m.? Didn't I point that out when they told us that they were nearing an agreement to begin the taper on Monday morning? They knew the minutes were going to cause angst, so they tried to control the narrative. They tried to prepare investors for yesterday's release. Now, what I think is really causing the issue of late is the exact language that suggests that there was or there is more division amongst the paparazzi than maybe anybody let on. And that division among them is even starker and more pronounced. And that's what's causing, I think, the anxiety. And while there is this emerging consensus to do something, it is still unclear what that consensus is, right? Some want to begin tapering sooner rather than later, because they also want the flexibility to begin to raise rates sooner. That's the surprise, right? Because they keep telling us, no, don't worry. The other ones are saying, hey, slow down, big boy, not so fast. Don't get hysterical, nothing happening yet. And thus the division. And while they are all expected this transitory burst in inflation, there is evidence in the minutes yesterday that the spurt has been stronger than even they expected, thus the need to potentially raise rates sooner. And that suggests that while Jay kept telling us not to worry, because it was all transitory, the Fed was not convinced at all. And so I think that's part of the issue about why investors, algos, and traders are reacting this way, right? They got to read the minutes. They got to make their own decision about risk. They get to think about what they've been told versus what they learned, and then they get to reprice stocks. So while Jay and the Fed tried to control the narrative and the reaction on Monday, they couldn't control it yesterday, and they may not be able to control it today. Investors, traders, and algos are now going to interpret the info and make their own decisions and moves, right? But please don't tell me you're shocked. How can you even tell me you're shocked or even surprised? How could you be if you've been paying attention at all, right? This actually should be a welcome relief. And before you get all anxious, let's just think about this for something. The moves in the past 2 days, plus the indicated moves this morning, only mean that the S&P is giving back 2%. The industrials 2.3%, the NASDAQ 2.2%, while the Russell, though, is off 6%. And if this morning's weakness holds, then the Russell is going to breach its long-term trend line support at 2149, and that won't be a positive. So, as of this morning, the VIX was up 42% at yesterday's closing, and this morning it's up another 20% as the sun rises. And remember the VIXy trade I spoke about yesterday? That closed up 6.7% and likely to go higher again this morning if the nervousness continues. The 10-year Treasury ended the day yesterday at 1.23%. This after money moved from stocks into the bonds in that safety play, a goal which had been under pressure in the weeks leading up to this week because of the lack of clarity, has now surged 7%, trading back at $1,800 an ounce off the August 9th low of $1,677, as it appears there's a little bit more concern about inflation than we were told. Wow. Go figure that. So stocks fell again yesterday, right? The Dow lost 382 points or 1%. The S&P off 48 points, 1%. The Nasdaq fell 130 points, just 0.9%. The Russell lost 13 points, 0.8%, while the transports gave up 120 or 0.8%. Pick the poison. The Fed, you can pick them. Is it the Fed, the Delta variant, the lack of protection even amongst the vaccinated, the rising rates of the unvaccinated, the tally, the social media pressure? Although now we do understand that suddenly Facebook and YouTube are deleting the tally posts. They must have read my tweet yesterday, while Twitter is having trouble understanding why tally tweets even need to come down. In fact, the comedy in all this is now the Taliban is accusing Facebook of censoring their free speech. Can you imagine? They're going to threaten to go to court. You could also blame the weak in eco data, the unrest now in D.C. over the $1 trillion infrastructure package, as well as the $3.5 trillion pork package, otherwise known as the human infrastructure bill. Any one of these would be an acceptable reason to call for, to be the explanation about what's happening. But in the end, what difference does it make? Is it going to change the narrative? No, and you should not be surprised. Now, that being said, this is where the rubber meets the road. When you are assessing your risk, you must decide how comfortable you can be, for how long, and for what is your pain point. You also have to assess whether the situation is different now than your original thesis. And if it is, then you're going to do A. And if it is not, then you're going to do B. And if you have time on your side, I would sit back and let it play out a bit and then buy more. If time's not an option, then we shouldn't even be having this discussion. And this morning's futures are getting broadsided again. At 7 a.m., the Dow is down another 380 points or 1%. The S&P's off 47 points or 1%. The Nasdaq off 130 points, 0.8%. The Russell lower by a whopping 50 points or better than 2%, which takes it down and through that trend line. So watch that. Overnight, Asian markets get smacked. Japan down 1%, Hong Kong down 2%, China down 0.7%, Australia down 0.6%, Taiwan down 2.7%, and the Kospi, which is South Korea, down 2%. This morning, stocks in Europe are actually going in reverse, right? They're getting smacked too. The FTSE down 2.2%, France down 3%, the DAX down 2%, Euro stocks down 2.5%. Spain down 1.6%, Italy down 2.25%, all reacting to the same news. What the Fed said versus what the Fed has been saying. That's all, nothing more. Okay, toss in the variant, toss in the tally, toss in DC concerns, weaker economic data, whatever. Now, stocks are way overdue for a correction. We knew this, and it's not even a correction. It's 2%. This is a pimple on your backside, so put it in perspective. Now, I'm hoping for a full of 7 to 10% move, so I'm sitting back and watching. I'm getting ready to pounce, holding my longs and cushioning the blow with my position in the VIXI, which we talked about. Eco data yesterday was much weaker than expected, right? Housing starts fell 7% versus the expected decline of 2.5%, while building permits did exceed the expectation, coming in at up 2.6% versus the expected 1%. Yet it was all about the Fed, and I've been saying that for weeks now. Today's eco data includes initial jobless claims expected to be 364,000, continuing claims of 2.8 million, Philly Fed survey of 23.1. Mortgage delinquencies last month were up 6.8%. So that's what you have to watch, what the trend is. And then finally, there'll be foreclosures. Oil, recall what I said in yesterday's note. The price of oil breached a trend line support the other day at 67.07. And I said it would be important to watch what happened next, because if it was unable to take that trend line back, then we would likely see 63 before we saw 70. And this morning, guess what? Oil didn't take the trend line back, and it's down $2 or 3.3%, trading at 63.40 after it traded as low as 62.83. as they accentuate anything negative. Bitcoin trading at 44.5. Ethereum is trading at 3,000. Those are off just a tiny bit. The S&P ended the day at 4,400 and looks like it's going to open this morning around 4360-ish if the trend holds, right? The first trend line support, the 50-day, is at 43.45. Surely we're likely to test that today to see if it holds. And if the U.S. markets mimic Europe, we could see our indexes off by 2% at the end of the day, and that would put the S&P down around 4320-ish, leaving it thrashing around as it searches for support. But let's just see how the day goes, right? Now, while the Fed did reveal a bit of a division, they do stand in solidarity that a taper does not mean an immediate rise in interest rates, that these two events are mutually exclusive. One does not ignite the other in tandem necessarily. And that's the memo that they need to circulate. But if it's true today, but that might be true today, it may not be true tomorrow, because if inflation does not slow down, then a move in rates will come sooner than expected, and then it will be difficult to understand exactly what that exclusivity is. So I'm just saying, and that's causing some of the angst. In any event, you know the deal. Stick to the plan. Don't rush. Do your homework. Create a shopping list, and maybe it's the list you already have, but have a list. If you're a long-term investor, you're building a portfolio, you're not missing anything. You're going to get the chance to buy stocks at better prices. Talk to your advisor. In this case, patience is a virtue. Remember, you can text the word invest to 21,000 to get my digital business card. It gets downloaded right to your cell phone. You can load it right into your contacts, and there's all my contact information on there. Feel free to, download it and then send me an email, send me a text. I'm always happy to talk about the markets, planning, thoughts, concerns, ideas, whatever. You can also follow me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is just my name, at Kenny Polcari. And on Instagram, I am at KennyP1961, which was my badge number, also the year I was born, right? So what are we doing for dinner tonight? So listen, the markets are unsettled. It feels uncomfortable. Maybe, you feel a little bit lousy, like now I have this scratchy throat, so I need something comforting. And so like your grandmother or your mother always says, have some chicken soup. It's good for you. So we're going to make chicken soup today. It's really simple to make, yet it is so good, right? Because it's just so basic, right? So the way I make it, I take 2 large breasts on the bone, skin on, onions, carrots, celery. I need water. I need a small package of the chicken bouillon, the powder, and salt and pepper. Beans are optional, but if you're going to use them, I use either cannelloni or chi-chi, but those are optional. Rinse the chicken pieces, put it in the pot, fill it with water. Right? Now add all the chopped veggies, season with the salt and pepper, add the 1 package of chicken bouillon, bring it to a boil. Once it boils, turn the heat down to medium-low and let it simmer. Turn it down to, medium-low. Let it simmer for about an hour and a half. Turn the heat off, take the chicken out, let it cool. At this point, you can add your beans of choice. Just pour them right into the hot soup because they don't really need to cook, right? When the chicken cools, debone it, cut into chunky pieces, return it to the soup. Now, place the pot in the fridge and allow it to get cold overnight. The fat will rise to the top and form like this skin. Tomorrow morning, when you take it out of the fridge, there's the fat right there. You can take it right off with a spoon. You can toss it this way. You can eliminate some of the fat if you don't like it. I happen to like it, but it's everyone's call. Heat it up, bring it back to a boil. Now, you can just eat it this way. Make sure you got plenty of Parmigiano cheese, or you can boil. A little bit of elbow pasta, right? Elbow macaronis, the small ones. And you boil those for about 6 minutes only, right? Take them off the water before they're done, because then you're going to strain it. You're going to put the macaroni right in the soup. But make sure you don't use a lot of macaroni because it sucks the soup up right away. So if you're going to make that much soup, 2 breasts, and you're going to fill the pot, almost 3/4 of the way full that you're making the soup in, I would only use a half a box of elbow macaronis, because otherwise a full box, you're going to suck up all the soup. Trust me, I know this. The other thing you can do is just boil the pasta and leave it on the side. Don't add it to the soup. Just add it to your dish and then add the hot soup on top of it if you want to do it that way. It's always right. But make sure, in any event, you have plenty of fresh grated Parmigiano cheese, because chicken soup and Parmigiano cheese is perfect. Anyway, listen, the day has just started. The sun's coming up. Have a great day. Take good care, and I'll see you in the morning.